0, 1. Let's get started.
Then we got our second target right there. And now it's just a matter of are we going to get our last target? So hello and welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you all my exact S&P 500 game plan for tomorrow's session on October the 9th, okay? So that being said, we're going to hit it all. We're going to be talking about the cash market. Then we're going to segue over to the futures market just to make sure we cover everything, all right? Then at some point in the middle, we'll also cover some of the major important news events that you need to be aware to pivot around for tomorrow's session. So with that being said, let me get my big face out of the way so we can see the charts here on display, okay? I think ultimately what we can see pretty clearly is defined as a range. So big congratulations to everyone in today's live stream. Go back, do yourself a favor, check the live stream post section in my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see exactly how I traded today, okay? With that being said, we are still in this range in which we're rotating from highs to lows, back to this high, okay? Now, although the cash market and futures market has this thing up above this prior high, that doesn't mean that we're out of this range just yet, okay? So let's talk about a few different variations really briefly here. The first one I think that is the most important and prominent for tomorrow is the fact that, again, we're not out of this range. So because we are in a bullish range overall, we will have to see a significant downshift in momentum to kind of give us a great risk reward for the rotation to come back down to this low, okay? So this is the first variation, and that does occur only if we basically kind of stay where we are / gap up just a little bit higher in tomorrow's market session, okay? So anything outlandishly higher would constitute a different game plan. So if we just break out going higher and higher, again, different game plan now. Momentum is now changed. It's continuing to be bullish. And in this circumstance, we are now trying to take advantage of any minor pullbacks for the continuation to go back up to the high, which is the second case scenario, okay? Now, for whatever reason, let's just say there's news, which we will cover in just a second, and we do gap down to this level without actually floating lower. That does kind of give credence to the next variation, okay? Remember, this is a bullish overall range, so it's far easier to buy this thing off of the low than it would be to sell off the high. So in this circumstance, we're basically looking for a continuation going back up, and in this situation, we can tag this prior high as it stands right now, which is right here at 673.25 to be our main level of which we're trying to capture to the upside, okay? So those are three really good variations, and I'm going to share with you two more, okay? The alternative, if we don't find support here, is obviously that we're going to break down and go lower, okay? Now, this can happen in a multitude of different variations. I'm just giving you kind of a basic understanding of what to look for. And in this circumstance, obviously, we're bearish now. So we're changing our idea to buying to now selling at appropriate levels that do bounce up, okay? Now, these are all great variations, and again, I'm favoring the fact that we're going to more than likely be in this pink one, okay? But with that favoring aside, we do have to be aware of one more variation, okay? So let me scoot everything over to the right, and that is the case and subjectiveness that we do find ourselves in a range. Now, we already talked about this being a bigger range, but ranges don't just stop with just one typically, okay? Now, what we could end up getting is the fact that we could push up here bullishly, go like so, and now we're in a range, okay? Now this range is overall bullish, but it's kind of unique because it's at the top end of a range, okay? So what we really want to do is see how it breaks out. If it breaks down first, then that's very good because now we can look to simply buy this thing going back up, and it would be a little, obviously a more shallow pullback than what we would be expecting here in this pink / fuchsia line, okay? But this is only credence to the fact that if we do consolidate in a barcoding instance to the right, and again, we break down first, okay? Now, I say that's important that we break down first because alternatively, the other variation for a range up at this level is the fact that we actually break out going higher, okay? Now, if we break out going higher, it's kind of the same situation as this fuchsia line over here. Because momentum is bullish overall, we will have to find ourselves getting in at the best risk to reward, which credence the fact that we need to get in a little bit higher on this price chart, okay? So once we do get above that pivot and we find ourselves rotating back down, we can now look to try to take profits, on the opposite side of whatever the range is going to be. So let's just assume that it's something like this right now, okay? We're going to start to take profits, obviously, right there at that 672 in this circumstance. And then we can also now use the full distance above as the distance dictated below, okay? So secondary targets could be illustrated in this circumstance, somewhere right around 671, okay? Now, again, in this situation, you would expect the market to find a rebound once we get to that level, pushing back up, creating a new range, okay? So stay with me here on this. That was the beginning part of a range that's going to basically be on top of this prior range. So if we pull down and then rotate back up, you're basically going to favor the fact that we're going to go back down and rotate back up and just sit back and look and watch and wait to see if we do break out. And if we break out, you can basically kind of follow this game plan in which we need to first break out first and then look for pullbacks, okay? Now with this yellow case scenario in which we break up first, it's very important to note that we could continue going lower, and it could look very much so similar to that of this. It won't be in the same technical structure, but essentially what we would get is a continuation pattern going lower. So we would expect a tighter range like I just mentioned here and potentially a breakout at some point in the future. But in this scenario, which we would probably already be in the trade, let's just assume that it continues to go lower. Okay, we've been talking about this variation a lot in today's video. If it goes lower, then simply now we're looking to continue the push going to that low. And once we get down to that low, we can essentially start to look for buying opportunities potentially, or continuation going lower like we mentioned earlier, okay? So there are a couple different variations to be aware of when trading this in the range, as well as some of the other nuances we talked about. But for right now, this is a pretty damn good game plan on what to expect for tomorrow's session, okay? Keep your eyes out for a potential range at this high. More than likely, what we should be favoring is some sort of variation like this, which is why I think it's important to note that there are two different outcomes for that variation, all right? So that being said, everyone, that is going to be the cash market chart. So give me a second here to pull up the futures market, okay? As I'm taking some time to pull up that futures market, I am going to segue over first, though, to the Discord, and there are links down below, so make sure you check that out. You'll get real-time data as well as all the live stream additives, okay? Now, if we go to major events, the major events for tomorrow, specifically on the 9th of October, as you can see, there is unemployment claims and Fed Chair Powell, is speaking at 8:30. So just be aware that if you are trading at 8:30, that's going to be a very volatile time in the markets. And I would probably say at least give it 15 minutes to after some of these news events / speeches come out to let the market kind of settle down, right? So with that being said, now that you have the game plan for the news events, let's get off the cash market and let's get on to the futures market, which you can see right here, okay? Now, ultimately, the futures market is pretty ominous of what we've been dealing with. And again, if you want to see me day trade this live, as you can see all the tags on here, then come and join me here at 9:30 tomorrow morning. The stream is delayed. However, it does show the exact representation of what I'm doing because this is the exact chart that I trade off of, okay? Now, with that being said, again, we are potentially in this range in the formation of happening. However, what I really kind of want to do is get rid of some of these lines here, okay? So let's get rid of everything and kind of look at it in the terms of this light, all right? So I'm looking at this now as a potential bigger move going higher in which we can kind of connect some of these highs like so. Now, although we didn't come all the way down, I do think that it's important to note the fact that this is a bigger move that's continued to go up. And this made a new higher high. So that's perfect, okay? So from this like type of technical pattern right here, you would expect for us to get underneath some of these prior lows because that's where support is. And as you can see, it did get underneath that first level of support before rising back up to retest the high, which is what it should have done, okay? Now at this particular point, you're basically looking for, again, 1, 2, 3 variations, all right? The first variation that is more appropriate is the fact that we do push up and consolidate here because market's happy, okay? And then we just look for the continuation and rotation of the market. At some point we will break out or break down, but in general we're just trying to rotate in this range, okay? Secondary move is that, again, like before, we just keep going up. You'll notice that tomorrow morning we'll probably all be up in the 68.30s. And then we can now justifiably look to buy any dips to return to that prior high. Very much so synonymous with that of the cash market. And lastly, what I do think we need to be aware of is the fact, again, of the full-blown reversal from this particular pivot. That does occur unless you said Fed Chair Powell comes on and it just tanks the market. It would look like a variation in which, again, we're looking to rotate back down to these lows. So with that being said, the range is probably going to be like right in there. Pretty close, okay? So again, we're looking for the moves above to be the distance below. Pretty synonymous like so, okay? So with this situation, let's kind of deviate these above and below now. Let me make sure that's right, sorry. And then below. And now you can start to see the range, okay? Now once I start doing a little bit of magic here, you can start to see the levels of support and resistance. And things are kind of confined, like I said before, still within this range. So what should technically happen is that we should fail from this pivot. Looking to now rotate back down pretty much fully through to this low. If we go up a little bit higher, obviously it can do that. But for right now, the full distance above this range is this. So we'd be expecting the full distance underneath this range, which would be that. Okay. So major support basically is going to be, you know, generally speaking, at the low of this prior low to just a little bit underneath it. Okay. So just be aware that that is and where we should be expecting a bounce in the future. Let's just say if we do happen to open up down there. Okay. So look for some sort of variation like this as we look to rotate back up to retest that prior high. Again, keeping the general theme that we are in a range. All right. So that's pretty much what I have for you all today. We covered the cash market, the news, as well as the futures market. So be sure to feel free to like and subscribe. Do yourself a favor. Come here and join me tomorrow at 9:30 where I have the live stream. So you can at least see me put some of the things I'm talking to in action. It's a lot easier to see what I'm saying sometimes than it is to listen. But other than that, if I don't see you tomorrow in the live stream or in the Discord, hopefully you do just well on your own. And if I do see you, then hopefully this will actually change the way you view and perceive the markets, okay? So again, everybody, thank you for watching, and I will see you all on the next candle.
That's it for today's breakdown. Just a reminder, I trade full-time, and I only focus on the S&P 500. My strategy works across the board, but the SP 500 is where I live every single day. I stream live every morning starting at 9:20 with a free pre-market prep at 9 o'clock right here on YouTube. Then at 6 p.m., I'm back on for the daily review and game plan for tomorrow, plus I cover tickers you guys request using the exact same system. So if you want to stay consistent, hit subscribe, drop your stock in the comments, and come hang out with me live. Links for the Discord and Patreon are below if you want my full daily levels and plans. See you in the next one.
All right, everyone. So this is going to be the trade of the week, or the trade that I will show you for the week, and it happened today on October the 6th, okay? So let me get my big face out of the way so you can see the chart here. All right, so what we have here overall was kind of a unique situation because we were expecting a whole bunch of different things, and ultimately what we ended up getting was a potential range rotation as well as just a continuation off of the bigger move, okay? So that being said, the low of this was kind of a unique entry, okay? This is a Gore pattern to the T. And with this, you can see it's more of a cascading, rising, higher high, and which gives us a nice entry off the base of this channel, okay? Now, that being said, the entry was a bit robust and big, leaving me to not be able to enter in ideally above the candle. So I ended up having to actually place my entry underneath based on the correct entry level, okay? That's what you're basically seeing right now. So with that being said, as soon as market action pulled back some, I do believe we entered in right here, yes. So with us entering in right here, now we're going to use our volatility-based algo that you will get as a Tier 3 member. And this will basically allow you to understand where to put your stop loss based on the day's volatility. So with that being said, as I adjust this, I'm going to fast forward just a bit so this doesn't take all day. But as you can see, we have our stop loss now there at the lows, which is equal to our stop loss at the highs coincidentally. And then we use other levels objectively above to get our second and third targets, okay? As you can see here, after we did pull back and kind of danced around a bit, We ultimately ended up, if I continue to fast forward this, you can see in just a second, we did get our first target, and we did get our second target right here. Oh, excuse me, right in a second. We did move our stop loss up because we got our first target. Sorry about that. Then we got our second target right there. And now it's just a matter of are we gonna get our last target? So there is a rhyme and reason to how we kind of trail, just so you know. But in this instance, as you can see, as we steady started to creep up dramatically closer to our target, we essentially maintained our stop loss closer as well. So as it continued to push up, we continue to push up as well. There is a trade secret for this, so don't fret. When you do become a member, you'll learn this. But in general, it just allows us to stay in as best we can, okay? So as you can see, our target was up there. We adjusted accordingly, and we did end up getting stopped out before the target high, although I did adjust the target high just a bit. So we ended up getting pretty much all the move, okay? So that being said, everyone, this was the trade of the week that you'll be seeing pretty much in all the videos for today or for this week. And if you don't want to miss opportunities just like this, then simply look down below for the description so you can get access to the Discord/Patreon, okay? Thanks for watching. See you on the next candle.